Hello, good evening. Welcome to this final edition of Good Evening Ghana for the year 2011. And what a year it's been. Glory be to God who has brought us from January all the way until December with all the blessings that he has showered upon us. We thank God exceedingly for this eventful year. Many things have happened this year. Many people have had triumphs and many people have also passed. But we thank God that we remain here at the end of the year. On a day like this, it would have been customary for me to allow you to tell me whatever you would like to say, and we may be able to do a bit of that. However, by popular request, I would like to take you back to that African election situation, the movie entitled African Election that we tried to show the other day. I believe many of you liked it and had many views and opinions about it. We did not have enough time to explore all the analysis about that on that occasion. So tonight we will get back onto it. But when you send an email, you should be able to tell me if there's something very strong on your heart that you would like to share with us about 2011. I'll be delighted to read it. But essentially, we'll be focusing on the African election. Today, however, we have an additional dimension to it. We have Jarreth Merz, who is the producer-director of the movie. He has been talking about the movie, and we have that video for you about what he himself said about the movie. Incidentally, he said he grew up in Ghana, but he is of German and Swiss origin. So he talked about why he did the movie and what was going through his mind when he was shooting the movie. We'll show that to you. It's an 8-minute discussion that he gave to some audience around the world. So we'll show you that as well as an additional dimension to today's story. But what we'd like to explore today is that should our journalists also be documenting some of the great Ghanaian stories that have global significance? Should we be aware that our country is becoming increasingly internationally significant, and therefore we should be looking at the great stories that happen in Ghana, whether sports stories, whether political stories, whether economic stories, or whether social stories, to sell the good name of Ghana? We would also look at our film producers and what efforts they have to make to be able to bring out the Ghanaian stories that have global significance.
Listening to the BBC World Service, this is The World Today, and if you've just tuned in, our top story this hour, voters in the West African state of Ghana are choosing a new president to replace John Kufuor, who's been in office for 8 years.
I couldn't detect, as an outsider, a huge amount of ideological difference between the two parties. It's essentially a two-party contest.
Attention, please.
Your candidacy has been accepted by the nation.
Mr. Chairman, we have a country where only the privileged few are enjoying, whilst the generality of the people are wallowing in poverty. This must come to an end. And I assure you, Jarreth Merz and the NDC will provide the needed relief. May God bless us all.
Okay, from now on, you're officially the candidate for the highest office of the land. As in the
message of being associated with elections. And it is our hope that none of that will mar the process that we have initiated this evening.
Welcome back to the show, and what a big story we have in the studio. Now, as we were showing the movie, the part 2 of the African election excerpts of it, and as you know, we have showed this before a few weeks ago, and we're showing it again. I just noticed that the gentleman walked into our studio, and he's very worried about the film that we are showing. It turns out that the director and producer of the film, Mr. Jarreth Merz, is here with us. He has graciously accepted to give us an interview on condition that we stop showing the film. So we have stopped, and we have Jarreth. Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
How did you come by the studio today? How did you know we're showing this, and what are you doing here, by the way?
Well, I'm preparing the promotional tour of the film, and no better way than to be in your studio tonight, breaking news tonight. So thanks for having me here. I think it's a great way to set it up to, you know, promote the film and help us to promote the film. You know, there's been some talk about the film. It's been very, very successful around the world, and now it's time to bring it to Ghana.
Well,
and,
you have been very successful around the world, Jarreth.
Well, thank you very much. It's very kind of you.
A lot of us have been very jealous of your production, and we have been very jealous of it because these are pictures that we thought were closer to us, that what you have done is something that we thought that we should have been doing. And we are more jealous also because you got a lot more access than we did.
You shouldn't be jealous because I think what happened was that I was able, when you were in the midst of it, making sure that this country would go into a better democracy, you allowed me to take the pictures while you were dealing with more important political matters. So there's no reason for jealousy at all.
No, for instance, I mean, you got into the Electoral Commission's strong room. Our cameras were not allowed there.
Well, there were conditions. There were conditions to that we were bound that we could not at any time use any of that material until after the elections were over. And I mean after the inauguration of the new president. We were bound to that. So we couldn't use any of that information as daily news because it would have upset, or you know, the potential was there that it would upset the process in the making.
You know, in today's program, I had another dimension of the story. You know, I was just telling you about sending you a message today on your website.
Right.
You know, you've done this 8-minute talk about the film. I don't know where you did it, but you...
Well, it was in, if you're familiar with TED, this conference.
Yes, TED.com, yeah.
Yeah, so TED Global invited us in July in Edinburgh to talk about the film, to talk about democracy in Africa. And as you know, a lot has happened since the Arab Spring. You know, Egypt, Libya, and you know, there's a lot of changes that have happened. So they wanted someone who went behind the scenes, because we know a lot of times in the Western media, Africa is portrayed as a failed nation. Yes, there is development and there are statistics, but it's always said like, look, here we are, we've done it. Ghana was successful again, let's move on. Or, you know, the Congo was not successful again, let's move on. So, you know, they were curious about someone giving a more complex view and looking at the connections of what happens behind
So
the
when
scenes.
you were filming, did you know that you were going to use it for a film?
I was hoping. You know, you don't know in a documentary, you never know. Look, we had 220 hours of film when we were done with filming after the election. So it took us like a year and a half to sit down, to go back, go through the material and edit what we thought would represent what I wanted to make as a film. So it was a very long process, and I didn't know where we were going to go. You know, who knew that Jarreth Merz was going to win? You know, who knew anything? That's what a documentary is. You know, why documentaries are so exciting, because you don't know the outcome.
I was worried about the shots that you used of Ghana, the external shots. You didn't show the nice places.
I disagree. I think, number one, the people of Ghana is the nice place of Ghana, because that's what it's about. Ghana is about the people. It's not about a building with air conditioning and a Mercedes-Benz or whatever. It's about the people. And I think what the film really does, it captures the people. It captures the spirit of the people. And I wish you could have seen the reactions of the people in America, in Europe, about this film. They were inspired.
I saw it in London.
You saw it in London.
Yeah,
you know, they were inspired about the film.
Well, but those who had not been to Ghana before thought that the infrastructure level was very bad. And I had to struggle to tell them that it's not as bad as Jarreth has portrayed in the movie.
Your point taken. But what do you see mostly of Africa? You see people dying of AIDS. You see people dying of hunger. You see people being raped. You see people being killed in war. You don't see people conduct a very, what do you call it, a successful election. That's not what people are used to seeing about Africa in detail, and that's what we're showing them. It's a very, very progressive way of how Ghana is being portrayed, and not in a cliched way. So I'm very proud that the film did come out the way it did.
You don't think that you could have done better with the infrastructure that you showed to the world?
I think that's Ghana's job. That's your job.
That's why we thought we should have been doing the movie.
But you didn't. What happened? Where were you?
We're here.
Look,
how much money did you make from the movie, Jarreth?
Minus $250,000 right now.
Minus means what? Lower than $250,000?
That means that's what I owe my investors.
Oh, you mean you haven't made any money?
No.
No profit at all?
No profit
really?
at all.
You're in debt?
Do you know why?
Tell me.
Because nobody wants to see African success stories.
Well, but a lot of people saw it in London.
Well, how many? 100 people in the cinema? Maybe?
Well, but it was showing consistently.
The BBC
I think it's still showing, isn't it?
It's over now. The BBC didn't buy the film. You didn't buy the film.
No.
Are you going to buy the film?
Well,
if you buy the film, I will let you show the whole film.
I don't like the infrastructure development that you show. But tell us about yourself. And when I watch you on YouTube,
you're naughty.
Yeah, a little bit. Do you have any Ghanaian, sort of connection?
Of course, my grandmother is Ghanaian. She's Ashanti. My great-great-great-grandfather was the Bantamahina.
Great-great-great-grandfather was Bantamahina.
Bantamahina.
And you're also from Germany and Switzerland?
Well, I was born in Switzerland. My mother's German. Grew up in Ghana, Kumasi and Accra, but also lived in New York and Los Angeles.
Okay, let's pick on some of the shots in the movie. When you, the very exciting one, the last time we did this program, was the one in the home of Flight Lieutenant Rawlins. Did you have a camera there?
We had a camera there.
Was it there for 24 hours, long time?
No, no one, I mean, look, if you make documentaries, there's a line you don't want to cross. There's, these are personal lives. You're intruding. I mean, you're getting access to something, that unprecedented. But we had glimpses, we had an hour here, an hour there, and that was it,
Did you show any bias? Because when I talked to some of the NPP people, they said that you didn't show any of the people that you interviewed for the commentaries.
I knew you were going to ask that question.
Yeah,
didn't you ask that question in London already?
It wasn't me, maybe somebody else.
That was you.
Yeah.
Okay, it wasn't you. As a documentary filmmaker, you try, to a certain extent, especially when it's about politics, you try to hear both sides. We tried. Let me make the point again. I tried to get both sides to speak. It doesn't happen all the time. It might be because people are on the road, because the tension is too high. Some people did give us more access than others, and that's how it goes.
I see. Welcome back to the show, and I have the movie producer Jarreth Merz in the studio. He came in accidentally to protest against his movie being showed on Good Evening Ghana, and eventually he agreed graciously to give us an interview, and we are very delighted about that. Let's see some portions of the movie. Now that he's here, he can comment on it. We've been having our own banter, I should say, in the studio, but I'm sure you're enjoying it. Send your emails to goodeveningghana@gmail.com, and we'll have time to read it. So let's see that one now. You had a camera in there?
There's a camera there. I mean, obviously, we're filming.
Yeah, I could see that. But that's the kind of access that I was talking about. That do you have a relationship with our former president of some sort?
Yes, like I do with your former president, John Kufuor.
As well, okay.
As well. I mean, I have a relationship with a lot of.
But we were criticizing our leaders because we will not. Metro TV might not get this kind of access, but Jarreth had it.
Because I'm not out to make them look bad.
We are not out to make them look bad either. What are you suggesting? That we're out to make them look bad?
No, there's less fear for them. It's like, let's put it this way. I think they felt that I came from a more neutral background.
Yeah.
Where I did not have a political history in Ghana that would make me seem, inclined to one side or the other. And I think that was crucial in getting all the access. And I think in the end, what we should say, fortunately, someone did get that access to actually look behind the scenes and say, like, look, it does work. And to show it to the world. And I think that's the key, to show, like, look, it really works. And this is how it works. Don't make Africa look like a basket case.
It's a great piece of work. And we'll be happy to engage you in seminal discussions about some of these things, But the strong room was one of the most popular parts of the movie. You had a camera in there? The Electoral Commission allowed you to have a camera in there?
The party members, the party agents of all the parties at the time who were present were asked by us, after receiving permission to ask the party members if they would agree that we can be in there, and they had no objections. So that's when we filmed. Again, we were not allowed to use any of the material during the election. It had to be saved for later. So what is it, like almost 3 years later, the material is being shown.
But did you tell them that you were coming to show the movie? I mean, at the time that you put the movie together, you were doing your premiere in London. Did you tell the MPP? Did you tell the NDC? Did you tell the Electoral Commission in Ghana? Did people know?
We sent out the information directly to the embassies, because they are the representatives in the countries. So in England, we contacted the Ghanaian embassy. In Hamburg, in Germany, we contacted the Ghanaian embassy. The Ghanaian ambassador was even there. Members of the embassy even came. So we invited them and please asked them to please spread the word and let people know that we're showing the film. That's the right way to go about it. You contact the embassy, because that's their work to bring the message back home. But you know, we're planning a screening in a big format here in Ghana, because I want it to be received and shown properly.